When it comes to December, there's always a hustle and bustle of get-togethers. On the plus side, you get to see family and friends. But it can be tricky to come up with recipes to take with you all the time. So let's see what we have in store this month with some easy holiday recipes. Time is a big deal at the holidays, so let's make sure that all of these recipes can be knocked out lickety-split. That's right, 5 minutes or less. If you're already taking packages and gifts with you to people's homes, you don't want big bulky pans. So let's make these bite-size, smaller for travel. Everybody's busy in the month of December, we know that. So let's make sure that all our recipes are make-ahead recipes. The best part is, they can be made 2 weeks in advance. With this winter Wonderland bark, you've got 3 ingredients and less than 5 minutes, and you've got a tasty treat to take to your next party. So let's get started. I've got 24 ounces of white chocolate, and I'm just going to start by putting that into my pan. And to that, I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vegetable oil. And really, that's all I need to get my bark up and running. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on melting this down, and you could, if you wanted to, just have this be straight white chocolate and you could melt it over a double boiler. But I like to add the vegetable oil because it'll make my chocolate a lot smoother. So I'm just going to start by stirring this. I like to add my vegetable oil to this because it makes the white chocolate nice and smooth and creamy. So now I have my white chocolate melted down, and I want to get ready to turn it into my bark. So I have a 15 by 10 by 1 inch pan. It's called a jelly roll pan. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer over my white chocolate. And it's pretty gosh darn easy because now all I need to do is decide what I'm going to top my holiday bark with. And I'm going to make it nice and easy, and I'm going to go with red and green M&Ms. So we're just going to work on sprinkling this over the top. And I want to make sure I get it nice and close to the edges. When I spread this out on my pan, I wanted it to be about between 1/4 and 1/2 inch thick. And now, that's it. Less than 5 minutes, that's one of our challenges. So my hands-on time was just a few minutes. Now I'm going to let this sit, and when it's nice and solid, I'm going to snap it into bite-sized pieces. Sometimes it gets a little cold and dreary around this time of year, so why not bring a taste of the tropics to this dessert? And we're going to do just that with our own holiday luau. To get started, I'm going to take 2 cups of chocolate chips, and I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vegetable oil. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start melting this chocolate. So my chocolate is nice and smooth and creamy, and now to it I'm going to add my first little bit of the tropics, and I'm going to do that by adding 1/2 cup of shredded coconut. So I'm just going to dump that right into my chocolate, and I've turned my burner off, and now I'm just going to stir to combine this all in. And I'm just going to fold that coconut in so it's nice and evenly dispersed all through my chocolate. And you can see this goes really quickly because remember our rule is it has to be 5 minutes or less to make this dessert. And now I'm going to take and simply, without burning myself or making a mess, add my chocolate. And now I'm going to take my rubber scraper and I'm going to smooth it out. And this is definitely going to be a little lumpy and bumpy because of the coconut, but that's all right. And I'm going to take and spread it out so that it's about 1/4 inch thick. And now I'm going to top it with the second part of our holiday luau. And I'm going to do that by taking candied pineapple and sprinkling it over the top of it. Now when you get candied pineapple in the store, it comes a variety of ways. If the pieces are too large like mine, where you can just take a knife and thinly slice them. So you're just going to sprinkle this over the top, and remember, you want to make sure that you get it close to the edges as well, so that all of the pieces have a little taste of that luau. All right, so now I've got it sprinkled on the top. Now, this is the part that I get a little daring. What I do is I just gently hover my hand over the top and I press down, but I don't want to press too hard because my chocolate is still really, really warm, but I want my pineapple to fuse to that chocolate. So what I'm going to do now is let this sit. I want my chocolate to harden up, and in a couple hours, it'll be ready to snap apart into bite-sized pieces. If you have someone in your life that's still singing about wanting to build a snowman, they're gonna love these peppermint icicles. So let's get them started right away. So I'm gonna start by putting a cup of sugar into my pan. And then to that, I'm going to add 1/2 of a cup of light corn syrup. And this is basically the same base that we would make if we were going to make a sucker. And now, to that, I'm going to add just a pinch of salt. And here's where things start to get interesting. Because we're making an actual candy, we need to get this to what is called the hard crack stage. Now, if you've never made candy before, that probably sounds a little odd to you. So that means that we're gonna keep checking it with our instant read thermometer, and we need to get this up to 300 degrees. And it's gonna bubble and boil like nobody's business, but that's exactly what we want. So it's gonna take a little bit of time to get to that point, and it's gonna look really chunky and odd before that, but it will be well worth it with the texture, and the fact that it needs to get to 300 degrees is really important. And when I hit 290, I actually stop, because now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of peppermint extract. And I'm also going to add a few drops of blue food coloring, and that's what's going to make it start to look like an icicle. So now we're gonna get a little smoky, and we're just gonna stir it up real quick. Now, it's one of those things where if you wanted to, you could take that same base with the sugar and the corn syrup, and you could dye it different colors, and you could add all kinds of other flavorings to it. And then when it comes to your party, you could have a whole variety of options for people. So this time, instead of putting it onto tin foil, we're going to put it onto parchment paper. And I'm just going to very carefully, because remember, this is 300 degrees in here, so you want to be extra cautious with this. I'm going to take my rubber scraper and I'm going to get all of that out. And now what I'm going to do is just take my pan, drop it once, drop it twice, and you can see on here there's all kinds of little bubbles. Don't worry about that. As it sits, those bubbles will rise up to the top, they'll pop, and then it will smooth out. So really, we are done. We can let this sit, let it harden up, and then once again, break it into those bite-sized pieces. Okay, so normally you get 3 recipes, but we're going rogue this month. You're getting 5 recipes that all take 5 minutes or less. So let's get a jump on number 4, and number 4 is no peanut brittle. Now that sounds a little weird, but it seems like peanut brittle pops up every holiday season at different parties. But if you're a person like me and you have someone in your family that can't eat peanuts, but you still like that crunchy, salty, sweet combination, this is the perfect treat for them. Because instead of using peanuts, we're going to use sunflower seeds. So we're gonna start by putting a tablespoon of butter into our pan, and we're going to melt that butter, and then we're going to start by roasting our sunflower seeds. Now, I shouldn't really say roasting, it's more of like a toasting, and that's going to end up giving a nice flavor to our peanut brittle. So I'm going to start by just quickly toasting my sunflower seeds, and I know that my sunflower seeds are ready when I can start to smell them. And then to it, I'm going to add my cranberries because I want to start warming these up as well. So with both my sunflower seeds and my cranberries, I have 1/2 cup, and I'm going to stir to combine them because now I'm going to cook it a little longer until I can start to smell the cranberry scent. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take these off of the burner and I'm gonna transfer it back into one of my bowls. So now that I have my sunflower seeds and my cranberries toasted, I'm not gonna clean up this pan, I'm not gonna change my pan. Instead, I'm going to leave that flavor in there. I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And now I'm gonna start making my brittle. Now when I make my brittle, I need to get my sugar and my salt combined, and I need to take it up to 285 degrees. While I'm doing this, I wanna keep stirring, and what's gonna happen, if you've never done this before, is it's going to start making a caramel sauce. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring back those toasted sunflower seeds and cranberry pieces. And you can see right away that it's going to start forming that brittle. And I'm gonna stir to combine and coat. And as soon as I add in these cooler ingredients, it's going to start setting up. So now that I've got it stirred, I'm gonna pour it into my pan. And once again, it's really hot sugar, so be careful. It smells like the holidays. So I'm gonna smooth this down with my rubber scraper. I'm gonna let this cool and set up so that, you guessed it, we can break it into bite-sized pieces. In just a minute, we'll be back to take a look at our final 5-minute recipe.
Maybe he's really focused.
Hey, Michael. Michael. Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.
Maybe he's just being a boy.
Preoccupation with objects is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.
All right, this 5th and final under 5-minute recipe is the great way to close out your holiday season. And we're gonna do that with some sleigh ride snacks. The first thing we're gonna do is add 2 cups of butter to our pan. That's a lot of butter, but we are making some delicious toffee to go on the bottom layer of our sleigh ride snacks. So we're gonna start by melting those 2 cups of butter. Okay. So I've got my butter melted in my pan, and now we're gonna make it into the toffee. So in order to do that, I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt and then 2 cups of sugar. I'm gonna stir to combine this because this is another one of those things where we wanna get it up to 285 degrees. I'm just gonna stir it all together, do a quick check there. Perfect. We're now going to transfer this over, and this is what's so cool about this. Boom, and then when you turn it over, there is nothing in that pan. So you can see this makes a lot of toffee. So we're just gonna let this go all over this pan. What I'm gonna do now is take some crushed up pretzels, and I'm gonna sprinkle this over the top, just like that, and let them sink in. So now, you could be done if you want to, but I like to really fancy this up and add some melted chocolate to it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put 2 teaspoons of vegetable oil in my pan, and to it, I'm going to add 2 cups of chocolate chips. And all I'm gonna do is keep stirring and melt down all this chocolate. Once I get this chocolate melted, I'm gonna pour it over the top of my toffee. I'm gonna let it sit and harden up again. And then, just like all our recipes we've seen today, we're gonna break it into bite-sized pieces. We'll be back in just a minute to see what everything looks like.
Right, mi cariño. So like I said, everything I learned about cooking, I learned from Grandma's empanadas. Shall we go again?
Yep.
Mix beef with the onions with the peppers with the paprika with the garlic with the oregano with the cumin. Got it?
Got it.
Throw on the olives, stir, season, stir again, pour out the flour, roll out the dough, make a circle, drop in a fistful of filling, fold over, press down, and ta-da!
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
Okay, we've got 5 very different recipes sitting on this table, and they meet our 3 challenges. Challenge number 1, you have to be able to make them in less than 5 minutes. Yeah, it does take a little while for these to harden up so that you can break them apart, but your hands-on time is only 5 minutes. That being said, these break into the perfect size to grab at a party. If you wanted to be a go-getter, you could take all of these things to a party and everybody could sample all of them. And our final challenge, challenge number 3. They have to be things that you can make ahead. Now here's a secret to all of these. Depending on how busy your schedule is, all of these can be made up to 2 weeks ahead of time and just stored in an airtight container. The only thing I've got left to do is to break apart our sleigh ride snacks. If you want to, you can snap it with your fingers, or you can use a knife. You can cut it into precise pieces, or you can use actually the heel of your knife and just come around in random spots and tap into it, and you'll start to crack apart your toffee. You're ready to plate then and enjoy your treat. So remember, the apron is optional, but the flavor isn't. Bet you didn't know we were making suckers tonight, did ya?